Welcome, Facebook Live people! My name is Neil Thressel, and I am with the Shin Institute, and I'm really super excited to have a guest. Her name is Rebecca. She is from the sunny, hopefully she's got sun, because way in Calgary we have rain and wind. So Rebecca, welcome to Spiritual Warriors Wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil.
Okay.
I'm happy
So,
to be here.
we're just going to jump right in. And I know that you've studied all your life for this moment and you've never struggled in your life. And spirituality just, you were born with it. Or were you like the rest of us and you had trials and tribulations and questions?
Oh, yes. I definitely would say I'm just like the rest of all of us. Lots of trials and questions, for sure.
So at some age, you were, I suspect, like the rest of us, you went, there's got to be more to life than I can feel and touch. When do you think that occurred for you?
Wow. Well, that's a fascinating question. Uh, for me, it started quite early. Quite early. I would say I was probably around 9 years old. And I think that's partly because of how I was raised. I was raised in a Christian home where we were, brought to church and all that. So it was religious, yet my parents did encourage spirituality. So there was a framework of learning about what that is. But for me, it was, I remember this one time after playing soccer, and I was the first girl. They didn't have soccer, like girls soccer in my hometown at that time. And I really wanted to play soccer. So I was the first girl to get on the soccer team. And I loved it. And I remember just after a game, like walking up the hill, and it was a beautiful fall day, and the sky was blue, and everything was just beautiful. And I just looked up, took a deep breath, and I just felt creator. I felt spirit. And I just remember this beautiful, beautiful feeling. And I've had that kind of feeling many, many times over my life. So that's something that is just a deep inner knowing that does go beyond the sensations in a way, yet you do feel it in your body too.
In your own words, like we're talking on Spiritual Warriors Wisdom, what are the traits that you relate as a woman to being a spiritual warrior that you believe you have?
Well, I don't really, thank you for acknowledging my womanhood, because I do think that there are pieces to spirituality that relate to womanhood for sure. But in terms of spiritual warriorhood or warriorship, what matters most to me is the idea that and the living experience of fully feeling in the present moment. So being willing to feel all of my feelings, all of my body sensations, and all of the sensations of the phenomenal world, the world around me, people, nature, whatever it is. So at times that can be very, very challenging, especially when triggered by, into more heightened states of reactiveness, And so with that, my feeling is to feel the feelings and be present with them, but not to react out of them. And so there's a whole sort of set of self-reflective practices that I do that have helped me over the years to gain more ability to be able to do that. And in that way, I can be in more deeper, satisfying kinds of relationships with people and with the natural world.
It's like most people, if you've got, I run, and one of the biggest joys is going for a run, being all covered in sweat, and then just being with that cold glass of water. Just be one with it and enjoying that moment and letting. So what you're saying is the strength to be in that moment of right here and right now, in the pure bliss of the moment, which takes an incredible amount of inner strength, because we all have the little mind chatter. The world wants us to do something. We have obligations, blah, 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 blah. So it truly is and takes a great deal of strength to be in the moment. Ask anyone that's ever tried this or beginning to meditate.
Yes, it's so true. And like you said, there's so many distractions. It could be, so many different things. And a lot of times we want to create distraction, as we all know, and I'm in that boat as well. When we're not comfortable, when we're in uncomfortable feelings, or we're stressed and we feel pressure in our lives, which today's, society that we live in is quite filled with pressure, in so many ways to take care of things, to take care of the finances, to be successful in some way. And however we view that and whatever pressures that we have inside, a lot of us, including myself, tend to want to, jump to anxiety binding behaviors like whatever it may be. It's funny, but I've cut a lot of those out of my life. So now I'm like, what are mine? But I guess being busy has become one of mine, which is weird because I was never like that in the past. But, drinking alcohol, watching TV, being on the internet, whatever it is, whatever distraction that we can create. And so it is such a gift, though. And this is, I think, kind of the beauty of it, is that it takes strength, it takes discipline to say, you know what, no, I'm not going to go to those things. But the gift in it is that you discover, when you are fully present, these amazing, even if there's uncomfortability in the body and maybe there is that pressure or that stress, but at the same time, there's gifts constantly flowing through the natural world, and even in our own bodies. Even that pressure is giving us a message. Underneath that, there's another message that we can hear and respond to in a whole different way. It's like a whole new world kind of thing when you're willing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, and I can say it unabashedly. I fell in love with you about 30 seconds ago, even deeper, because you said one of my favorite words, and many women don't use it, and the word was discipline. To me,
oh yeah.
To me, it is the difference between success and failure. If you want to be a success in anything, or you want to take a practice deeper in anything, a better cook, a better photographer, a better athlete, you cannot achieve it without discipline.
Yeah, and it's interesting because what that translates, how I translate discipline for myself these days, is actually willingness. It's like there's something I desire in my life. There's something I want to experience. And for me, one of my greatest values is actually connection. I want to experience connection with people and with the natural world. For me, that just feeds my soul. And yet I know that if I don't have the willingness to open fully and be fully present and undistracted, then and do the practices that help me in that manner, then I don't get to receive that gift that I desire. So for me, it's really a lot about willingness, coming back to that, and that's the discipline too, is just continuously coming back to that place of willingness in myself.
You also touched on this is beautiful segue, another one of the most profound teachings, and many people don't get it. I can physically be aggressive and take something, and that takes a certain amount of strength, but it takes more strength, more courage to be open and vulnerable to a situation, to allow a situation to occur. I can go and beat it and make it happen, but it takes more strength to sit back and allow it to happen.
Yes. And I feel we find greater success in all areas when we do that. That's been my experience for sure, is because when I'm in that state where I'm kind of like grasping and grabbing and pushing, I'm missing so many details, you know, because my perception isn't in a state of actual willingness and openness to receive what is going on. I'm bypassing so much to get to the goal, you know? And so that place of vulnerability and gentleness, you know, gentleness of the heart with the strength of doing and the presence is the one where, you know, all the gifts can be received with every step. That's how I feel.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And I mean, you can probably tell I've experienced both. I notice that the motivation is different. Usually if I'm pushing to achieve, there's some sort of insecurity underneath that. Some sort of thing that is telling me if I don't do this in this amount of time and this, you know, whatever the parameters that I've put on it, then I'm not good enough, or I'm not, you know, worthy, or whatever it may be. There's something under there, you know, that's driving me, that's connected to some old wound or who knows what, and that doesn't take me where I want to go. So again, it's like that presence, noticing what is motivating me. You know, what are my motives? And with the spiritual warrior, that self-reflective process is so important. That's how I feel for myself. When I can see what's motivating me, then I can choose. I can go, oh, that's the thing that I don't want to be motivating me. I can feel it. And now I'm going to go back to my values, the things in the essence of who I am that really are important for me and that inspire me and feel beautiful for me. And I'm going to act out of those. I'm choosing that. It's like a continuous.
Yes. Yes. And I love, once again, a beautiful segue, because I believe when you design and live your life from a place of choice, it is truly blissful, rather than a place of reaction, always having to the drama of life. One of my teachers said the only drama you should have in your life should be the drama of you creating your life. That you should be, when you go out on a date, it should be a dramatic production. Like, it should be the most important thing. So you're looking after all the details from choice, as opposed to it happening.
Orchestrating it as an art form is what I'm hearing when you
describe. Yes.
The drama is an art.
Yeah. We're oh my gosh, we're at about halfway. I can't believe we're into this already. 15 minutes. So if people are loving and wanting to get a hold of you, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you? If they want to know a little more about you, they want to know about your teachings, what workshops you're offering, how do they go about it?
Right now, my beloved partner and collaborator, Vince, and I have a website called Love Medicine, which is the name of our transformative artistry offering. And so with transformative artistry, we're both fine artists, we're also in the healing arts. So what we love to do is combine that creativity in many different forms with the different healing modalities that we've both studied. So counseling and neurolinguistic programming, And so a lot of these spiritual concepts that we've been talking about, as you know, they come from different spiritual lineages. So, for me, there's some Buddhists, there's some First Nations, and then there's also some European Celtic traditions. So anyway, we have these offerings that are offered through Love Medicine. So you can reach us at lovemedicine.ca and lovemedinfo@gmail.com if you want to email us. And then we also have a Facebook, which is just Love Medicine. And we're offering workshops in sacred empowering language. So in that, it actually covers a lot of what we've been talking about, these self-reflective processes in order to have the presence in our communications. And then with that, learning ways of communicating, ways of using our words and that are empowering and can help us to deliver our messages in a way that can land in the heart of the receiver and help to create the reality that we're all dreaming of. So that's one of our workshops, and it comes in many forms. And we have women's circles and men's circles that are more ceremonial. And we also have, I've been actually working with girls, youth, doing this amazing combination of arts and talking circle and counseling with them, with my collaborator Maggie Blue, who's of Tiger Lily Collective. And that's really exciting for me as a woman, because as you mentioned earlier in the conversation about being a woman, that my experience of that is that it's challenging growing up in this day and age for girls with the messages that they're receiving through the media, and even historical ingrained societal messages that women receive.
Yes.
So I've created with my collaborator Maggie Blue a platform for girls to express through all the different art forms, through dance, through music, through visual arts, and then also through exploring, through talking about these things, so that they can move through them and find their own value, intrinsic value in who they are as beings, and be able to live their purpose from that place and know that they're needed in the world. We're all needed. We're all needed, on that level, of
Yes.
the being that we are created to be, is how I view it. So that's a long explanation of how you can get a hold of us.
No worries. It's interesting. My previous week's guest was Vince, and it's Rebecca's beloved, and he mentioned the sacred language workshop, and I let it pass because we were all in a whole bunch of other tangents. But you bring it up again, and it reminds me of that words truly are historically people that could write and read the words were considered magicians and spellcasters because they could read the words, and the words were spells because they had the power to recreate time after time after time. And people ask me if I journal, and I don't journal, but I dream. And I have a book which I call my own personal book of magic, and I only put positive things in my book of magic. If it's going to say that I did this and I stubbed my toe, it doesn't go in there. But it shares my dreams, my aspirations, my positives. Neil, you did a great day, because it's my book of magic.
Wow, I love that. That really speaks to it for sure. I mean, one of the streams that we work with, which kind of goes along with what you're saying, is it's an indigenous teaching around feeding the divine. And so, yeah. So, and it's a very heartfelt expression of the beauty that we see in the things and the beings that support our lives every day by just being. So it's like this practice of poetically giving our words, our praise, through our body language, through our vocal tones, through the most beautiful words that we can muster through our being, to give and feed those beings who are in our lives, whether they're people or the water, as we mentioned earlier, that beautiful glass of water that, yeah. So that's one of the things that we teach and then we practice in our groups, and it's profound because we're not often given the it's vulnerable when you get to that level of sharing or expressing and praising something. You know, in our society, even it's sometimes seen as a weakness. It's like, if you do that, then you're vulnerable because now people know that, you know, you like them so much and they have one up on you or something weird like that, right? There's so much strange psychology around all that, but it's this amazing opening, and people break into tears just with the freedom to express what really lives inside their hearts, and it just blossoms into this inner knowing.
Yes, some of the most powerful work in expression of love for another person through communication have been completely non-verbal. So I would be standing in front of a divine other, and all I could do is through energetically is just love them, and they could just love me. And it's truly magnificent when you actually are in tune and you get it.
Yes.
Please.
I fully agree. Actually, one of the things we do in our Sacred Empowering Language workshop is eye gazing, which is another way open to that sensation of connection that we often are missing in the pressure-filled, busy lives that many of us lead. You know, to take that time, like you said, to be in the presence and feel into the other person. And when we do that, it's like, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful.
Yes, absolutely it is. And as a spiritual warrior, we need, and whoever's listening to this, as a spiritual warrior, you need to practice and rigorously practice the divine art of connecting with another. It's like I can go out in the backyard and I can practice all my grounding exercises and I can do all my push-ups and everything. But it is truly our connection with another. We're not meant to be, humans are herd animals. Occasionally we're meant to be on our solo and our journeys, but we're to be community in that. And the only way to build community is through connection. And it takes practice to be heart open and truly present.
It does. I love that you mentioned that, because that's kind of like, it's so core to all of it, to this spiritual warrior reality that we're talking about. And we cannot experience connection without vulnerability, you know? So that in and of itself, it's like, what is vulnerability? You know, what is that? It's this place where I'm authentically willing to share what I'm experiencing inside, the things that I normally might protect people from knowing about myself. But often, as soon as that's allowed to be there in a gentle manner, it invites it just naturally from the other. And then it's like, whoa, there we are, we're in connection. And the other thing about connection that comes up when you're talking that's so important is, at least to me, is that if we want to transform our inner being and actually heal the wounds that we may have experienced through trauma in our past, or that might have been passed down through the family system traumas. So the patterns, the unhealthy patterns that we have, if we want to transform out of those wounds and those traumas get created when we're with other people, usually our caregivers, when we're growing up. And so if we want to change those and change the beliefs that we have the hidden beliefs that we have about ourselves, based on those traumas, that needs to be done by acknowledging the truth about ourselves in connection with another person. So meaning that if when I had a trauma as a young child, and I made that mean that, I don't matter because I was abandoned or whatever, then now if I want to embrace the truth that I do matter, then I need to do that in connection with another person, because that's the place where it was created. So our brain is actually going to embrace that truth much more readily when we're in connection with another person. Does that make sense?
Yes. And it takes another depth. I can say that I'm the third born child and I had two older sisters. So all my trauma about being unheard and people pleasing comes from the trauma of having two older bossy sisters. But till I embrace, and I can deal with that on my own, and I can, do my practices in the woods, but it takes it to an entire new depth when I share this in community in a safe, open, sacred practice. And it allows me to take it even to a bigger depth.
Yes, yeah. That is one of the things that I'm the most passionate about, and I've actually studied quite in depth around practices to support others to be able to really fully embrace that experience and experience the profound levels of transformation that can happen with that. And I'm so blessed to have Vince in my life because we do these practices together, and the transformation is happening quickly. It's noticeable for both of us. So I know that it's real.
Yes. What I've noticed in the personal growth world, what was done 10 years ago and would take a whole weekend to get people to a certain level so that you could get them into this state, to get them into safety and comfort, now there's techniques and people's ability to embrace these things in a couple hours. They're into that place of safety and comfort most of the times, not always. And then boom, you can go deep, which used to take a whole weekend or weeks at it. You're now in a couple days.
Yeah, that's interesting.
As some people believe that time is speeding up and evolution is speeding up, so is our transformational work. So
yeah, I've heard that said, and sometimes I feel it too. I tend to be someone that doesn't cling to any particular perspective of how the universe works, I guess. I like to stay open and just see what is in the present moment, as we talked about earlier. So
that's
be
sweet.
open to mystery.
Okay. So we're so close to being out of time. Is there anything that is just bursting to bubble out of you that you'd love to share? You can say no, but no, you can't say no. Is there anything you'd love to share?
Wow, in this short time. Well, I'm really happy about all the things we touched on. I guess I would just highlight this beautiful reality that we have been given with this gift of life to live in these bodies at this time on the planet, and just to honor and encourage all of us to continue to open, ourselves to notice everything that's going on as a gift. It's so beautiful, and some things will feel so wonderful and luscious, and other things might feel really choppy and hard. And even those, when we fully open to them, there will be gifts there. And so I just want to encourage that, because I know for myself it helps me a lot.
Thank you. So thank you for being part of the show. And
Thank you.
if anything that speaks to you and that draws you, you can find Rebecca at lovemedicine.ca, on Facebook at Love Medicine, and yeah, check out their work. They're beautiful souls. So thank you, Rebecca, for being part of today's show.
Thank you so much, Neil. I loved it. It was really great to talk with you.
It's wonderful.